Chris, tell me about Albatros. The film has been shown in quite a few countries. Tell me about places where you've shown it and the reactions of the audience.
It's been an amazing experience to let Albatros take off and fly out into the world in the last year and a half or so. And we didn't use any commercial distribution. We only gave it as a gift. So it's only traveling from person to person. And so far, albatrosses have short tails, but our film is enjoying a long tail because it actually seems to be growing. People are hosting screenings, and people are hosting more and more screenings, and it seems to be sort of making its way into some universities and into some school curriculums in places like South Korea and in Germany. And every now and then we get a letter from somebody who says it really affected them deeply and that it changed their experience of grief in the world. And yeah, it's been an amazing gift that just keeps coming back to us.
And for free. Why did you choose to do this for free? This is activism, is it not?
Well, I mean, right now it's the time for everybody to act radically, you know, to make some radical gesture toward a new future. And by radical, you know, I don't mean violent or with any sort of negativity. It's radical is the Greek word for roots. Getting back to our roots, getting back to our heart, getting back to a connection. And so I thought, what's a radical thing I can do? I can give away my film as a gift to the world.
What do you wish audiences to take away with Albatros?
I think at the heart of it, really, Albatros is about feeling our sadness for what is being lost in the world. And standing in the fire of that experience on Midway Island, I realized that the reason that we feel so much sadness is because we love those things. We love those birds. We love those mountains and those forests and those creatures. And that's the thing that I remembered when I was on Midway Island that I forgot. I didn't know I had forgotten. But I found my love for a creature that I never thought I would care about. And it wasn't something that I didn't fall in love with albatrosses. I found out that I loved them, that I'd just forgotten. And this is the thing that we all forget, that we're forgetting collectively. The most obvious thing is how amazing the world is that we live in and how much we all are filled with love for it. If we can remember that together, then solving all those problems out there is like, no problem. In one morning, we solve half the problems of the world if we all together came from this foundational place of love. That is what we are made of in the first place.
And of all the creatures, you choose the albatross. It is a great metaphor. But why the albatross in itself?
And so the story of the albatross, I didn't make up any of it. I didn't have to choose one creature, and I chose the most mythical one, that's the actual bird in the real world whose body is filled with plastic, more than any other creature. So in this incredibly powerful, poetic way, the actual most legendary poetic bird is delivering this message to humanity on this incredibly remote island in the very middle of the great ocean of peace, the Pacific Ocean. And the name of that island, of all the names that island could have, Midway. Midway, like that word is just like clobbers us over the head every day of the project, thinking midway. Midway between all the mistakes that humanity's ever made and the still unwritten story of our future. Here we are, midway. Here's humanity, midway.
Are you hopeful?
Yeah, I'm filled with hope. And here's why. If you think of all of the problems out in the world, whether it's mining, toxicity and destruction caused by mining and overfishing and the destruction of our forests and the damage we're doing to our atmosphere and the extinction of species. If you look at all of those things out there and you think of those are the problems, you can see all of those problems getting worse and worse. And the politics is going in the wrong direction. If that's how you think about it. And that is one correct way to think about it, and there are millions of people in the world who are working to solve those problems. But there's another way to think of it. All of those problems out there you can see as symptoms of one problem. If you go all the way to the very root of any of those things, if it's plastic in the ocean or toxicity or whatever it is, you want to follow that problem all the way back to the very origin. Like following the river all the way to the place in the mountain where the spring comes. Where do those problems begin? It's in here. And in here, inside of us, in the morphic field of collective consciousness.
That's going upstream.
In our culture. All the way upstream, that's where all of these problems begin. And that's where they can all be cured and solved. And that to me is a hopeful thing, because consciousness is something that can change. It's something that can change in a blink of an eye. And it's something that everybody can join in and participate in. Everywhere in the world, people are awakening. And the problem is that it's just not happening fast enough. At the current speed, it's not gonna catch up to the problems. And so all we have to do, I think, is to accelerate the awakening, the feeling that we all feel. Accelerate our feeling of sadness, which connects us with our feeling of love for the world. It's like, that's not that hard of a thing to do. That can be achieved. A shift in consciousness is achievable. And if we can achieve that together, then we truly step through a door into a new story. And we don't even have to worry about what that story is going to be. If we just focus everything on this shift of consciousness, reawakening our innate love for each other and for the miracle of our world.
Now, the albatross is not only the albatross in itself, full of plastic in its belly. It's actually here we go into the realm of interpretation, a portrayal of our society, of what our mass consumption is. Could you tell me a little bit more about that, Amplify?
It was amazing to kneel before those dead birds filled with plastic and look into, it looked like an eye. You can imagine where the stomach of the bird was, is this pile of brightly colored plastic, and it's surrounded by feathers. It looked just like an eyeball. An eyeball opened in the earth looking back at us, or like a mirror, looking at a pile of our plastic inside this bird in this incredibly remote place. And there is the same kind of plastic bottled water that I drank, and there's a toothbrush and like recognizable child's toys, like toy soldiers and like our stuff. It was just a mirror. It was like looking into a mirror. And part of the hardest thing to hold in that process was, to the birds, plastic is completely invisible. They can't know what plastic is. It looks to them like the food they've been eating for 50 million years, or all the way back to the pterodactyls. And they don't know why there's a poking feeling in their stomach. And they don't know that they're feeding something bad to their babies, and they don't know why their babies are dying. And the babies that are on the beach trying to fly, feeling the instinct to fly out to sea, they don't know why they can't cough up the pile of stuff that they're supposed to be able to cough up. And they don't know why their wings are drooping. They can't hold their wings up because they're so filled with toxic stuff. They're standing on the beach with their wings like this. And it's all invisible to them. And to be witnessing that, and to know what I know, it just made me realize how much I love them and how much they deserve us to be stewards. The world deserves us to be stewards. The world is so amazing.
So you have a very telling image, which is that mother delivering, that plastic. What is your take on that image, that succession of images?
More than anything, it represents the passing of something from one generation to the next. And it's a terrifying thing because that is a mirror for us as well. We are passing on something to our next generation. And the difference between us and the albatrosses is they can't know. It's invisible to them. They don't know what they're doing. They're completely innocent. We know the toxicity and the destruction and the damage that we're doing to our earth that is all passed on not only to the very next generation, but it will affect the quality of life for everybody who comes after us for who knows how many generations. And in that knowing, I think we can be happier people, live happier and more joyful lives if we do the work to correct it. And we can find the motivation to do that simply. It's inside every single one of us, is to reconnect with the love that we're all made of.
So, tell me about your next top secret project.
Ooh. Well, I can say that I'm here in Chile. It's happening here in Chile. And we get to go to the Atacama. Everywhere in the world, when I tell people I'm going to the Atacama Desert, they're all like, oh my God, the darkest night skies with the brightest stars of anywhere on Earth. I can't wait to see the Atacama.